"Can we have your leftovers?" 4 hungry kids asked. He looked up and saw their blue eyes. It floated between 3 star systems, a metal city wrapped in lights, noise, and motion. Ships of every size arrived and left every hour. Aliens of hundreds of species walked its long corridors, spoke in strange sounds, and followed rules older than most civilizations. Humans were rare here. Captain Elias Ward sat alone at a small food counter near Dock Ring C. His freighter, Wayfarer's Luck, was being refueled. He had time to eat nothing more. His meal was simple: protein strips, warm grain paste, water with added minerals. Not tasty, but enough. Humans had learned long ago that survival did not need comfort. Around him, the station moved like a living thing. Tall, insect-like traders clicked past. Heavy-scaled beings rolled cargo on anti-grav pads. Thin, long-limbed creatures watched everything with cold, careful eyes. No one looked at Elias. That was normal. Humans were not powerful in this part of space. They were not feared. They were not respected. They were tolerated mostly because they were useful workers and stubborn survivors. Elias ate slowly. He had learned not to rush, not here. Then a voice spoke, soft, careful, almost afraid. "Excuse us, sir." Elias froze. No one ever spoke to humans first on K-47. He lifted his head. 4 children stood in front of him. They were small, even by human standards. Thin arms, loose clothes that had once been part of adult uniforms. Their skin was pale, almost gray, and marked with faint blue lines that ran like veins near the surface. But it was their eyes that made Elias stop breathing. Bright blue, not glowing, not artificial, human blue. The tallest child stepped forward. He held his hands together, fingers shaking just a little. "Can we have your leftovers?" the child asked. The station seemed to grow quieter. Several nearby aliens slowed their movement. A few turned their heads. Hunger was not shameful in space, but asking for food was. It meant weakness. Elias looked down at his tray. There was still half the meal left. He looked back at the children. They were trying to stand straight, trying to look polite, trying not to look desperate. They had failed at the last part. "How long since you ate?" Elias asked. The children looked at each other. The smallest one answered very quietly, "We had nutrient water yesterday." Yesterday. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. "What species are you?" he asked. "Lyran refugees," the tallest child said. "Our world was reassigned." Reassigned. That was the word the Galactic Coalition used when a planet was taken for mining, military use, or political trade. Entire species could be moved or left behind based on numbers and value. Lyrans were not valuable. Elias had heard of them. Adaptive minds, peaceful. Physically weak, no strong fleets, no political power, easy to ignore. He looked around. Several aliens were watching now, some with curiosity, some with open dislike. Sharing food broke no law, but it broke tradition. On K-47, everyone survived alone. Elias pushed his tray forward. "Sit," he said. The children stared at the food as if it might disappear. "You're sure?" the smallest one asked. "Yes," Elias said. "Eat." They moved fast, not rude, not greedy, just fast. They shared evenly, passing pieces to each other without being told. Elias noticed that right away. He drank his water and watched. No one stopped them, but the watching grew heavier. When the tray was empty, the children wiped their hands carefully on their clothes and stood. "Thank you," the tallest child said. "We won't forget." Elias nodded. "Where are you staying?" The child hesitated. "In the maintenance levels," he said, "near the heat pipes." Elias knew what that meant. Cold, dangerous, hidden. "Come back tomorrow," Elias said. "Same time." The children's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes." They bowed, not a human gesture but close enough, and disappeared into the crowd. The station noise returned. Elias stood up and left. That night Elias could not sleep. The Wayfarer's Luck was quiet, but his mind was not. He kept seeing those blue eyes. Too familiar, too human. He accessed the public station data. Lyran refugees, population displaced, 12 million. The next day the children were waiting, same spot, same careful posture. Elias brought 2 trays this time. They ate faster. Afterward the smallest child looked up at him. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. Elias thought for a moment. "Because someone once helped humans," he said, "when no one else would." That was not completely true, but it was close enough. By the 3rd day, whispers followed him. A human shares resources, emotional weakness, risk behavior. Elias ignored them. He brought food. Sometimes warm blankets from his ship, sometimes tools. He taught them small things without realizing it. How to plan meals, how to take turns speaking, how to fix a broken vent panel instead of hiding from it. The children watched him closely. They copied everything. On the 6th day, station security approached him. A tall, armored being with 4 eyes blocked his path. "Captain Elias Ward," the officer said, "your activities have been noted." "I'm not breaking any rules," Elias said calmly. "No," the officer agreed. "But you are creating dependency." "They're children," Elias replied. The officer tilted his head. "That is irrelevant." Elias met its gaze. "That's where we disagree." The officer stepped aside. "For now," it said. That evening the tallest child spoke again. "Others are hungry," he said, "not just us." "How many?" Elias asked. "More every day." Elias looked at the station lights through the viewport. He had enough supplies for his crew, a little extra, not much. But humans had always done more with less. "We'll figure something out," Elias said. The child nodded. He believed him. Far above Dock Ring C, in a chamber filled with data screens, station overseers reviewed reports. Human activity spike. Refugee coordination increase. Unusual behavioral changes among Lyrans. One overseer narrowed its eyes. "Monitor the human," it said, "closely." Back in the shadows of the station, 4 children slept warmer than they had in months. They dreamed not of survival, but of tomorrow. And somewhere deep in the heart of K47 Meridian, a small change had begun. It started with leftovers. It would not end there. The station K47 Meridian was changing. It was not loud. It was not fast. But something had shifted, like a ship adjusting course by a single degree. Most beings did not notice. Some did, and did not like it. Captain Elias Ward felt it every day. More eyes followed him now when he walked through Dock Ring C. Conversations stopped when he passed. Not because he was dangerous, but because he was different. Different was risky. He carried a small container of food in his pack. Nothing special. Just extra portions he had prepared on his ship. He had learned which stations did not track small supply losses too closely. When he reached the maintenance corridor, 4 familiar figures stepped out of the shadows. They stood straighter than before, cleaner, healthier. The tallest boy spoke first. "You came." "I said I would," Elias replied. The smallest girl smiled. It was still cautious, but it was real. They sat together on a warm vent cover while they ate. This time, Elias noticed something new. They talked, not just quick words. They discussed who would eat first, who would save a piece for later, who would carry leftovers to someone else. "Someone else?" Elias asked. The boy nodded. "There are others, older ones, injured ones." Elias paused. "How many?" 23, the boy said. "For now." That number felt heavy. Elias leaned back against the wall. He looked tired. "You can't feed everyone," a voice inside him warned. But another voice answered. Humans never waited for permission to care. "How are you organizing this?" Elias asked. The children exchanged looks. "We made lists," the girl said. "We watch who needs help most." Elias felt a quiet shock. No one had taught them that, or maybe someone had without knowing. Over the next few days, Elias noticed more changes. The children were not just surviving anymore. They were planning. They repaired small station equipment for credits. They traded cleaning work for nutrient packs. They mapped safe routes through the lower levels. They were building a system, and they were doing it calmly. Station sensors noticed too. A report reached the Oversight Council. Refugee movement increased. Resource flow stabilized in lower sectors. Human involvement confirmed. The Council did not like unknown variables. One cycle later, a supply ship failed to arrive. At first, no one panicked. Then ration dispensers slowed, prices rose, food lines grew longer. The dominant species began hoarding. Arguments broke out. Fights were avoided only because security presence doubled. Elias stood in line at a public dispenser and listened. They say the delay could last weeks. Non-priority sectors will be cut first. We should secure our own needs. Elias thought of the children and the others they were helping. When he reached the front, the dispenser gave him half his normal ration. He did not argue. That night, Elias met the children again. He brought less food. They noticed immediately. "Is something wrong?" the girl asked. "Supply trouble," Elias said honestly. "Everyone will feel it." The boy thought for a moment. "Then we must change." "Change how?" Elias asked. "We cannot depend on you alone," the boy said. "That is unfair." Elias studied him. The words were careful, logical, kind. "You sound like a human," Elias said quietly. The boy tilted his head. "We learn from what we see." The next day, something strange happened. A Lyran adult approached a security officer, not to beg but to offer help. A group of refugees repaired a blocked cargo route faster than station drones. Food waste in lower levels dropped sharply. Someone had organized shared kitchens. Not official ones, better ones. Elias watched from a distance as the children moved through the crowd. They spoke with confidence now. They listened. They adjusted plans. No shouting, no fear. Security watched too. Then the summons came. Captain Elias Ward was ordered to report to Administrative Chamber 7. 2 armed escorts arrived at his ship. "Am I under arrest?" Elias asked calmly. "No," one escort replied. "You are under review." That was worse. In the chamber, 3 overseers waited, tall, silent, cold. "You have influenced station dynamics," the lead overseer said. "I shared food," Elias replied. "You introduced instability," another said. Elias met their gaze. "I introduced cooperation." "That is not your role," the overseer said. Elias leaned forward. "It's everyone's role," he said. "You just forgot." The room went quiet. "Your actions have created dependency," the overseer said again. Elias shook his head. "No, they created capability." The overseers exchanged data flashes. "Human emotional patterns are inefficient," one said. "Human patterns save lives," Elias answered. Silence. Finally, the lead overseer spoke. "You will be restricted from further contact with refugees." Elias felt anger rise, but he controlled it. "And if I refuse?" he asked. "Then you will be detained." Elias stood. "I won't resist," he said. "But understand this, you are already too late." They placed him in a holding room. No bars, just a door that would not open. Hours passed. Then alarms sounded, not loud ones. System alerts. Oxygen flow errors, cargo lift failures, crowd movement spikes. The station was not breaking. It was stressing. The overseers watched data streams in growing confusion. Refugee groups moved with purpose. They directed crowds away from blocked sectors. They shared ration information. They repaired systems security had ignored. One overseer froze. "These patterns, they are not Lyran." Another checked deeper. "They are human-modeled." A security officer rushed into Elias' holding room. "Captain," it said, confused. "We need you." Elias followed. In the main control chamber, screens showed live feeds. The children stood at the center of a crowd, speaking calmly. "We share," the boy said. "We wait our turn, we help fix what we can." People listened. Aliens listened. "This should not work," an overseer whispered. Elias crossed his arms. "It always does," he said. Hours later, the worst of the crisis passed. No riots, no deaths. Food distribution stabilized through cooperation, not force. The council released Elias without comment. As he left, the smallest girl ran to him. "You taught us," she said. Elias knelt. "I didn't teach you," he replied. I reminded you, she smiled. Above them, unseen by most, data logs updated across the station. Human behavioral influence, high. And the station that would never be the same. The station K-47 Meridian survived the shortage. That fact alone shocked many. No riots, no system collapse, no mass loss of life. According to station logic, it should not have worked. Refugees were supposed to panic. Minor species were supposed to wait for orders or fail without them. But they did not. They organized. They helped each other. And at the center of it all were 4 Lyran children with blue eyes, moving through the crowds like quiet leaders. Captain Elias Ward watched from the upper balcony of Dock Ring, see his hands rested on the metal railing. His face was calm, but inside something burned with pride. He had not planned this. Humans rarely did. They reacted. They adapted. They acted when others waited. Below him, the children coordinated food lines. One child spoke while another listened. The smallest girl kept track of numbers using chalk on the floor. No shouting, no threats, just order. Station security stood nearby, unsure whether to intervene or copy what they saw. The Oversight Council was not pleased. In the central chamber, council members argued. This behavior is spreading, one overseer said, across species. Human influence must be contained, another replied. They do not use force, a third said. That makes them unpredictable. The lead overseer remained silent. Data streams showed a clear pattern. Where humans interacted, cooperation increased. Where humans taught by example, chaos decreased. Humans were not the strongest species, but they were something worse. They were contagious. The council ordered a review. All human movement on the station was restricted. Human ships were delayed. Human communication was monitored. Officially, it was for station safety. Elias felt it immediately. Dock clearance for his ship was denied. Supply requests were delayed. 2 security officers followed him openly. He did not protest. Humans had learned long ago that patience could be a weapon. The children noticed. Are they angry with you? The boy asked. Not angry, Elias said. Afraid. Of what? The girl asked. Elias smiled sadly. Of change, the boy thought about that. Change can be slow, he said. We can be patient. Elias nodded. That's also human. Trouble came from outside. A damaged cargo cruiser arrived without warning. Its hull was cracked. Its engines barely held together. It carried 2,000 passengers, mostly refugees. Station protocol demanded quarantine, limited aid, long processing times, but K-47 did not have the resources. Panic spread again. The Oversight Council hesitated. Then the children acted. They did not ask permission. They opened unused storage bays, organized medical volunteers, shared food routes they had already built. Other refugees followed without question. Even some station workers joined them. Security froze. The council watched in disbelief. They should not have this level of coordination, an overseer said. They learned it, another replied. From the human. Elias was summoned again, this time not as a suspect, but as a consultant. You will assist in refugee management, the lead overseer said stiffly. Elias folded his arms. No rank, no authority. You will advise, the overseer said. Nothing more, Elias nodded. That's fine. Humans did not need titles to lead. For 3 days, Elias worked alongside the children. He showed adults how to break tasks into small steps, how to rotate rest shifts, how to speak calmly during stress. The children watched carefully. They copied everything. The new refugees settled faster than anyone expected. Medical issues dropped. Violence did not appear at all. Data logs updated again. Human-led response effectiveness. Exceptional. The Oversight Council received a transmission. Galactic Coalition Command. They had noticed the numbers. This station is an anomaly, the message said. Explain. The council explained. About Elias, about the children. About cooperation. The reply came after a long pause. Continue observation, Coalition Command said. Do not interfere. That worried the council more than anger would have. The children changed too. They no longer hid. They walked openly through public sectors. Other species listened to them. Some copied their methods. A small group of aliens approached Elias one day. Human, one said, teach us. Elias blinked. Teach what? How you do this, the alien replied. Without control, without fear. Elias thought. Then he answered honestly. We don't wait for permission to care. The alien processed that, then nodded. That night a council member spoke privately with Elias. You are dangerous, it said, but not in the way we expected. Elias smiled slightly. That's humanity. You do not conquer, the council member said. You change. Elias looked at the station lights. Sometimes that's the same thing, he said. The final test came suddenly. A station-wide power failure. Lights dimmed. Gravity flickered. Systems shut down. This time there was no panic. People waited. Refugee leaders stepped forward. Children gave instructions. Teams moved. Within hours, power stabilized, faster than any simulation predicted. The Oversight Council could no longer deny it. Humans were not a liability. They were a solution. After power returned, the 4 children stood beside Elias, watching the station recover. We want to do more, the boy said. Elias looked down at him. You already are, the girl smiled. We learned from you. Elias shook his head gently. You learned because you wanted to. The children looked at each other. Then the boy spoke softly. Then we will teach others. Elias felt a quiet weight lift from his chest. That was how it always spread. Not orders, not force, example. Far beyond K47 Meridian, coalition analysts reviewed reports. Human influence, exponential. On K47, a station built on cold logic, something new had taken root. Hope. And it was very human. The station K47 Meridian was quiet. Not empty. Not silent. Just calm. That alone was a miracle. Captain Elias Ward stood near the main observation window. Below him, ships moved in steady lines. Cargo flowed. People walked without fear. Order had returned. But it was not the old order. It was better. Behind him, the Oversight Council gathered for the final review. They did not sit on raised platforms this time. They stood at the same level as everyone else. That change mattered. You are cleared for departure, the lead overseer said. Your ship may undock within 1 cycle. Elias nodded. Thank you. The overseer hesitated. You could stay. Elias smiled gently. Humans don't stay where we're needed forever. The overseer studied him. Why? Because if things only work when we're present, Elias said, then we failed. The overseer said nothing. Word of Elias' departure spread fast. Refugees gathered near Dock Ring C. Workers paused their tasks. Even security officers watched quietly. 4 familiar figures moved through the crowd. The children. They were not thin anymore. Their clothes were clean. Their posture was confident. Leaders. The tallest boy stopped in front of Elias. You are leaving, he said. It was not a question. Yes, Elias replied. The smallest girl stepped forward. Did we do something wrong? Elias knelt so he was at eye level with them. No, he said firmly. You did everything right. The boy looked confused. Then why go? Elias placed a hand over his chest. Because you don't need me anymore. The children were silent. That truth was harder than hunger had ever been. Over the next hours, preparations continued. The children walked with Elias through the station one last time. They passed shared kitchens, learning centers, repair teams made of mixed species. None of this had existed before. This was not possible before you, the boy said. Elias shook his head. It was always possible. But no one tried, the girl said. Elias smiled. That's the only difference. In the council chamber, a final decision was made. The lead overseer spoke to the gathered members. Human influence will no longer be restricted, it said. It will be studied. Another overseer added, human behavioral frameworks will be offered to non-priority species. A third spoke quietly. We underestimated them. No one argued. As undocking time approached, the children walked Elias to his ship. The wayfarer's luck waited, lights warm against the dark. The boy held out a small symbol made from station scrap, an open hand. "Lyran Mark," he said. "It means sharing without asking for return." Elias accepted it carefully. "I'll keep it," he said, "and I'll remember you." The girl's voice trembled. "Will you tell others about us?" Elias nodded. "I already am." The docking alarm sounded. Elias turned toward his ship. Then he stopped. He turned back to the children and spoke one last time. "You don't owe humanity anything," he said. "Not kindness. Not loyalty." The boy listened closely. "But if you choose to pass it on," Elias continued, "that's how it survives." The children nodded. They understood. The wayfarer's luck undocked smoothly. As it pulled away, Elias watched K-47 Meridian grow smaller. He did not feel sadness. He felt peace. Weeks later, across known space, reports spread. Stations with human advisors showed lower conflict. Refugee worlds using human systems recovered faster. Species once dismissed began to thrive. The Galactic Coalition held an emergency summit. One analyst spoke carefully. "Humans are not dominant," she said, "but they are catalytic." Another added, "They don't rule, they uplift." The final report ended with a single line. "Humanity's greatest export is not technology, it is belief." Back on K-47 Meridian, the children stood in front of a gathered crowd. They were no longer called refugees. They were called coordinators. The boy spoke calmly. "We will teach what we learned," he said. "We will listen as much as we speak." The girl added, "No one eats alone." Applause followed, not loud, respectful, real. In a small classroom, children of many species learned together. They learned math. They learned repair. They learned how to speak without fear. On the wall was a simple symbol, an open hand. Far away, Elias received a message on his ship, a data packet. Inside was a short video. The children stood together, smiling. The boy spoke. "We are doing well," he said. "Others are learning." The girl waved. "Thank you for seeing us." Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Then he smiled. The wayfarer's luck jumped to hyperspace. Another stop awaited, another forgotten place, another chance. Because humans did not build empires, they built people. And once built, those people changed the galaxy forever.